Hey guys, it's Matt. One of the most fascinating things for me right now, and I know for a lot of you, is trying to understand how this community has been played and used by the powers that be, so the powers that be can achieve their goals. We sense we are necessary. You could go back to the same analogy I've used in the past about Neo being used in the Matrix, and people might say, well, that sounds awfully arrogant. Matt, you're assigning yourselves, the crazy nuts in the truth community, as Neo. Pretty much, yeah. We are being used and we are essential. And you won't believe what I'm about to play because it's put so well. It's just put perfectly. Now, we've come to similar conclusions, but it's never been put this perfectly. Like in Moonstruck with Cher, Cher's mother runs around and asks people, why do men chase women? She can't figure out, why do men chase women as they get older? And then Johnny Camilleri basically says, maybe it's because they fear death. She's like, that's it. That's it. He's like, well, no, that's it. Because they fear death. Anyway, it's a kind of a funny scene in Moonstruck. And wait till you hear this. We're going to point, it'll come in a few minutes. We'll point to him and say, yeah, that's it. Now, is it exactly it? No, but it's never been put this perfectly. It's a gunsandbutter.org interview with Michael Hoffman. I'll play a tiny piece of it. I assume they'll let me play this. Try to keep it as short as possible. But for anybody struggling where we're going here, let's just back up and start with the basics. One of the reasons this is not an old-fashioned radio show is I don't even know if I can talk about the Bill Clinton chain stores anymore. I don't know. I mean, if I joke about those Bill Clinton chain stores or the chain stores that Marco Rubio is establishing or has established in Central and South Florida, I don't even know. Can I say that? I don't know. I'm not going to take a chance. This is too important. Now, for anybody not following me, just start with the absolute basics, the movie The Matrix. If you've seen it once or twice, or you're crunching your popcorn in 1999, somebody says, what do you want from the concession? Give me Mike and Ike. Remember Mike and Ike? What the hell, does that still exist? If you're just watching The Matrix the first time, you think there's this oracle that's helping Neo, and you don't truly understand what's going on. It takes about 10 watches of that movie to truly understand what's going on, unless you go through all the fan pages and the YouTube sites that break it down continuously. But Neo, the whole time, Keanu Reeves, believes he has choices, but he has no choices. He's being directed. He's being used. Oh, he believes he's the one. He has all these powers. He can do whatever he wants. He's a choice to save Morpheus, a choice to throw Trinity off the bridge. But he really has no choices. The Oracle's not on his side. The Oracle is on the side of the Architect, and they are playing from both sides, playing and using Neo, just like they play both sides of every war and everything else they cook up. Neo was used to reset the Matrix, to improve the Matrix, to reinstall the code back to source, exactly the way the Oracle and the Architect wanted. And in a very similar sense, I am saying, and maybe we can change our trajectory, but up till now, we have been played incredibly by these things that play 20th dimensional chess. And we believe we're just out waking people up, but we've been doing exactly what they want. So maybe I should just play the clip.
I've just read your incredible book, Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. Quote, this demonstrates one of our simpler methods. Realizing that our activities will sooner or later come to light, we structure our activities so that as conspiracy researchers unravel them, they will release information into the public consciousness in such a way that it mirrors our initiatory procedure. In this way, the more we are investigated, the more masses of people are psychologically processed by the very people who seek to expose us. The meme that constitutes our essential structure is then successfully mimicked within the consciousness of those who investigate us. Success can then be measured precisely to the extent that our work is exposed.
Now, many of you right now are like Rose and Moonstruck going, that's it. I've never heard it put quite like that. That's it. Well, yes and no. Okay, we'll talk about who is Michael Hoffman, what is his role. We never take off the skeptic hat, but it has never been put the way it was just presented. And when I heard it, I went, wow. So let's just start with the absolute basics. This relates back to what I said 3 or 4 years ago. You've heard me talk about mistakes on purpose. What's the number one mistake on purpose? The inflated tire, all the Robbie moments, all this stuff, all on purpose to get our attention. Never quite understood it when it was first happening. Well, why did they have to show us this? Why are they trying to get our attention? Why would they make a mistake on purpose? And we argued back and forth for years. Now they're just sloppy. People said they're sloppy, and other people said, oh, they just mock. Oh, that's first grade stuff. Absolutely not. Peed on breadcrumbs to get our attention on purpose. Now, to break down the segments or the elements of what she just presented, again, this is a quote from this Michael Hoffman book. I don't know the book, but to give props to the book, I put in her reading the name of the book if anybody wants to look into it. And again, with whoever this Michael Hoffman is, you always wear the skeptic hat. But let's look at the elements of what she presented in this quote. Where he got the quote, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. It rings true when we hear something like that. First element is, this is one method we have, which implies there are other methods, other reality buttons and levers they have their greasy fingers on. So one method. This isn't the only way they do business. That's number one. Number two is, sooner or later, I'm quoting what was presented, we're going to be found out. Sooner or later, we're going to be found out. So we'll use the conspiracy researchers to do the work and then release the information back into the public consciousness. And then the fourth element is it mirrors our, whatever this is, it mirrors our initiatory procedures. All right, well, I'm not an expert on that bullet point. We'll talk about that a little bit later. It's creepy in and of itself. And then the fifth element I wrote down was the masses then, not us, us in this truth community having been used, the masses are psychologically processed. And the group seeking to expose what's called here the cryptocracy, the technocracy, the dark back room where Jared is serving his tea and Krimbits, those seeking to expose it are actually helping us psychologically process the masses, is what the quote was saying. And then the last element, I couldn't believe it. Success is measured, he said, on, I don't know who he's quoting, success is measured on how much we're exposed, but exposed in the right way. This is absolutely fascinating. And there's a lot to wrap your head around there. And whenever that's the case, it's best to go back and look at one example of the thousands of tricks and schemes and all the stuff they pull all the time. It's good to look at one simple example and see how that went down. Let's look at the constant spying, the Snowden stuff, and what exactly happened there, and potentially how we were used in this community. And I'll give a personal example. Now, what I'm referring to is, I don't know, it probably started with Alex Jones and other Glenn Beck and the like around 2008, 2009, 2010. We heard it. We were all watching those sorts of videos and watching those sorts of programs. They're listening to everything. They're spying on everyone. Every email is read. Every text is read. And of course, who was the first group to start talking about all of this? The conspiracy group, the truth group, our group. Then it went more mainstream, didn't it? I remember talking to my aunt about it. She used the same old excuses, pulled from the same scripts. Well, Matt, I don't have anything to hide, so I guess if it could stop one TTism, if it could stop just one event, then I'm okay with having everything read and my emails read, and I don't have anything to hide. So, that they all, when reality does this using its minions, in those that can't think at all for themselves, it will always insert the most ridiculous and absurd scripts. And somebody's not worth talking to or not worth ever spending time trying to wake up when they immediately run these scripts. For example, well, Matt, they know how to deal with it in Hong Kong. If they start running scripts, forget about it. Forget about it. You'll never get through to them. My aunt, I have nothing to hide, so it's okay. Well, I'm going to never talk to you about any sort of truth again. You're completely zombified. So That's neither here nor there, but you know what I mean. So again, Alex Jones, he had on guest William Benny, and it is did William Benny actually work on the spying stuff with the NSA and actually create this stuff? And is he potentially a real whistleblower? Potentially. He could also be an actor. He could be a real whistleblower. But this is how sophisticated, quote, end quote, the reality is. People being used without even knowing they're being used. I don't know if we're going to get into that either. I keep straying. But William Benning on Alex Jones, everything's being recorded. Everything's being read. Glenn Beck, okay, here it comes through Fox News. We start talking to our family about it. People start blogging about it. People start putting Facebook posts. Then what they do is this is the simplest of methods, they habituate people to it. They normalize it. They just have a Snowden scandal. And although if anybody had a clue, everybody should have said, well, wait a second, this guy, look, the Snowden thing, guys, it was complete act. Every bit of it is an act in a Shakespeare play. There was no real Snowden who cared about people, and he exposed this and that, and he ran off to Hong Kong, or he ran off to Russia. I mean, give me a break. Even if we weren't sure, once they made a movie about it, well, then that kind of gives it away. They just have that 3-year period where they just normalize it and habituate everybody to it. And everybody looks around and says, well, this person isn't getting upset that all our emails are being read and my TV's listening to me, and Alex Jones was actually right about this stuff. And that if you can understand what Alex Jones's role is, if you go through the elements of what we just heard. Sooner or later, we're going to be found out anyway. The conspiracy researchers do all the research and do all the work and expose it, but release the info into the public consciousness in the right way that mirrors some sort of creepy initiatory procedure. So the masses are psychologically processed by the truthers, by the Alex Joneses. It's just, this isn't human. I mean, there's just this level of sophistication that we're just starting to wake up to in the last 3 or 4 years. It's not human. There's just no way. There's no I don't know what to point out in the creepy police lineup. It doesn't matter. I don't care to try to go through that lineup again. But I mean, the people in this community pretty darn smart. All right, I've had emails from people I don't even understand the emails. They're so high level, and I'm not too dumb myself. These people and we're just finally getting it now, kind of sensing what's going on here. And there's no way there's this little toads in the Rand Institute and Tavistock and all that organizing all this. There's something here that we just can't simply comprehend. But Snowden, and then all of a sudden it's normalized. It's like it's very similar to my How the Reality Works video. It's floated out. It's not solid. It's very blurry. And the masses, just like these steps here, are psychologically processed to harden the cement, to bring it into reality. And on the other side of the Snowden stuff and on the other side of the Julian Assange stuff, it's all, come on, WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, ridiculous. It's an act in a Shakespeare play. We came out the other side, and how were the masses conditioned to all of that in their, quote, initiatory procedure? Well, they just accepted. You could say your grandma today or your aunt or your niece or whatever, your TV's listening to you. Yeah, I wish it wouldn't, but sometimes it's to my advantage because I can just say, TV, turn on Netflix. So it's actually good. I don't have to get my ass up off the couch. They just habituate it and normalize it. And this is just one kindergarten example, the spying, the reading of emails. And it's just nobody cares anymore. Nobody's going to push back. And how they got it implanted, how they impregnated it, that everybody should just accept this and it's okay is not human. The levels of evil genius here we're talking about. And guys, I know anybody screaming at their computer right now, I say evil genius. And yes, in many ways, I'm not going to go into it in this presentation, but in many ways, how we're being used, screwed, all the crap that the George Bush creatures do, in a way, of course, is to our spiritual advantage as we see it, make ourselves better by observing what not to do. They're absolutely playing a role here that at least a few of us benefit from, but that's not the purpose of this presentation. Just to stray a little bit on the Assange thing. I mean, first of all, they made a movie about that. Made a Snowden movie, right? Snowden movie comes out, and then the Assange movie comes out with that. What's his name? Cumberbun or Cucumber? That actor who plays in everything anymore. There's like, I think all of the aisle of the UK has 15 actors. They're just the same people. Judi Dench or whatever. They're all recycled over and over again. Cumberbun or whatever his name is. He played Assange, I think. And I mean, I think when I saw the movie, I might have believed that, the whole story was real about he's just trying to help people. The whole thing is a setup, guys. I mean, if you just think for 5 minutes, the Ecuador embassy? Was it the Ecuador embassy? They're giving him asylum, and the entire West and the unlimited powers of the West want him and want to bring him to justice, and they want to put him in jail. But little old Ecuador is holding out. I mean, come on. It's such a joke. If there was anything about it that was real, the men in black would have gone down to see the president of Ecuador, whoever that clown is. They would have sat down with him, been like sitting down with Vincent Vega and Jules from Pulp Fiction, and they would have said, "Do you know who your real daddy is? Marcellus Wallace? Would you like your country to look 10 times worse than Venezuela by next Tuesday?" See, it would have been a little bit of influence over Ecuador. No, we're just going to protect this white man with white hair. Yeah, sure. It's a joke. So tying this sort of stuff back to how reality works and the simple steps that we've been talking about, the screen, the reality itself, whatever is behind the final curtain we'll never be able to point at. It wants to evolve or devolve a human being into a certain thing. It wants society to go in a certain perverted way. So it floats a very blurry, vague idea or notion out on the screen. And it's up to the minions to make that blurry idea or just vague sense of what society should be. It's up to the minions to show everybody how wonderful it is and to promote it and to say how great it is. And that's the purpose of everybody that shows their fat face on TV. 99 whatever percent don't even understand how they're serving the overarching reality. Musicians, artists, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Wonder, Lady Gaga, politicians, governors, presidents, all these celebrities. Anybody that puts their big fat face all over TV, talk show hosts, Glenn Beck, they're all minions. Some, at least for their own little bucket that they're in, like a Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck. They understand there's no two-party system or anything like that. They understand in their bucket how things are fake and the role that they're playing, but I don't think they understand nearly what we're getting a sense of as to how the whole overall reality works. They think they're completely in the know, coming out of some, Glenn Beck wears his skull and bones cummerbund. It doesn't matter where he went to school. He's been seen with that. And they think they have it all figured out, but they're all being used. They don't have any understanding either. It's incredible how this reality plays these games and uses people without people being in on it. But the minions' job is then to cement or to harden the cement on the blurry picture or the blurry notion that the reality wants to put out. But the minions can't do it on their own. They need real people to believe in it. And then we provide an epoxy agent. You need to combine two tubes of toothpaste. You combine the A and the B, and it hardens into something way harder than cement. Epoxy A and B. On its own, epoxy A will never get hard. A B will never get hard. It's like toothpaste. You mix them together. The minions mix the ideas through real consciousness, through real people, and it hardens it and it births it into society. And now we're learning the truth community is essential, is like a neo in providing it, I guess, a chemical agent to harden the cement. That's what we're figuring out now. And this quote that I played before sums it up better than any quote I've ever heard. Okay, so the big question now is, put me on the spot, right? I'm supposed to answer this. How exactly has the truth community been used as this essential ingredient to psychologically process the masses? How have we been used? Well, I don't know. As I'm saying this into the microphone, I don't know. We'll go through this together right now. I have a sense, but you always start with the absolute basics. So what have we been doing? Trying to wake everybody up. about 7/11, all the events. And what happens? Well, people don't want to hear it. People do earmuffs. They push back. They want to protect their worldview. They've taken a download. Whatever the reason is, they don't want any of this information. They don't want to bring this information into their reality bubble. So they classify us in a certain way. Crazy. Where did Matt go wrong? Misguided. I get emails when I try to present something to my friend Ken. He'll present me an email back. To me, it's nonsensical. He'll present something like he looked at Fact Checker. And I'm basically want to say to him, I don't know if he's listening to this or not, well, if the nature of conspiracy, whatever I'm presenting, is so big, do you think Fact Checker wouldn't be involved? Do you think Fact Checker would still be reporting the exact facts? Like he'll say, well, what you're saying, Matt, isn't supported by Snopes and Fact Checker. Like that's the justification to hold on to the existing worldview. It's nonsensical, but it's enough for these folks to hold on to their notion that what CNN presents is real. So we're kind of put in as outcasts. And I don't know, is it just a habituation? Are we going to wake up 10 years from now the way we are now after the Kennedy Dallas? Can I say that? I don't. You would think you would say the Kennedy assassination. That's been said a few times. Can I say it? Well, where are most people today? Most people that have a clue, and they're still in the regular majority. They don't see 7/11 or anything that we see. They would say Lee Harvey Oswald couldn't have done it by himself. Most people see that. So are we going to wake up 15 years from now and it'll just be a slow habituation that something else happened? You could say to somebody that's age 30 or age 40, 15 years from now, and they would just have a general sense that, the guy in the cave that coordinated it, that's probably not what happened. But it was so long ago, and they just don't care and just move forward. And the fact that this could be pulled off has just become like normalized. And that's probably the first grade sense of it. The conspiracy people talk about it for so long that at some point it is birthed into reality potentially, at some point in the masses. But so much time has gone by, they don't care. And also, do they ever want to acknowledge that the conspiracy people were right? I don't understand how they exactly use this method to have the conspiracy researchers do the work, release the info into the public consciousness in a certain way that mirrors their initiation procedure. I don't really. The only initiation procedure I know about is Kevin Bacon bending over Niedermeyer. Thank you, sir. Can I have another? That's all I understand. But I will continue to analyze this. But does it really matter? At the end of the day, a while back we talked about we're Neo. We are necessary to reset Zion, or necessary to move the society in the way we're being used and played. Move society in a way that they want it to go. We are an essential element. And we've seen that. And the more important part, instead of figuring it all out, I guess, is to see when we're being used and played, and to not do it, and to say, I'm not going to do a Vin Diesel in the diner, the movie XXX. Like I don't play this game and just not do what they want us to do anymore. And I don't have all that figured out either. But it definitely starts with fear videos, no question about it. This YouTube's still littered with fear videos about the currency and everything else. As I've said many times, guys, any video or channel that is pushing fear, whether it be related to trails in the sky or anything, they're absolutely, just per these elements that we discussed, being used and played to have information slowly leaked out and released into the public consciousness in a certain way. In the meantime, they can generate as much fear as possible, and they can feed off of that. So we're not sure exactly how we're being used and played. We'll continue to analyze this. But we know if we want to buy into fear porn in the truth community, all that stuff that probably hangs out at BitChute, sorry. Just completely separate yourself from it and not give it any of your energy. Do not feed it anymore. That's step one. We probably have 10 more steps to do after that. But if you don't turn off every sort of fear porn, there's a difference between being informed when it looks like they're really going to roll out the Action Jacksonation. What's the methods? They're rolling it out in the UK. And, we saw who got it. 2 households, both alike in dignity and fair Verona, where we relay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. We saw who got it. But, predicting where they're going to go with it as it affects our lives, that's important. We can't not look at the screen. But don't buy into the fear part of it. I mean, that is... that's exactly what it wants. So this was an interesting exercise, and this is absolutely worth coming around and analyzing again several more times. And guys, just to close, whatever the issue is with the site No Hobo Code, whatever the issue is you just type it in. Type the wwws. Sometimes you have to type it in. Whatever issues is, they'll be worked out. I know there's some issues. we're not Zuckerberg here, $1 billion of resources. It's just, this stuff happens. It's okay. We'll collect the information. Just type in www, then type in No Hobo Code, just like that, with the extension, dot, the most common, and you'll find it. You'll be able to get us your information. So if something happens here, we'll always be able to connect with each other. But I understand people had some problems, and again, no Zuckerberg type resources here. Sometimes it takes the Australian servers a day or two to reset and things like that. We'll work it out. We got time, as long as I don't say something stupid and I keep this channel going. Thanks, guys.